CELA presents.
How to support library patrons to read CELA's audiobooks and magazines, transitioning from reading on CDs to other devices. Welcome to this webinar intended to give you an overview of how you can support your patrons with print disabilities to read CELA's audiobooks. My name is Faylene Bobier. I'm the Training and Outreach Coordinator with CELA, and I'll be presenting the webinar. A recorded version of this webinar will also be available on the CELA website. Before we begin, I'd like to read a brief land acknowledgement. I currently live and work in Toronto, the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. Wherever we find ourselves today across Turtle Island, we can be grateful to the First Nations for their careful stewardship of the land. So to start with learning goals or the agenda, I'm going to talk about what CELA is, a bit about the audiobooks in our collection, and how CELA library accounts work. Then I'll describe the different player options that you can choose from. I'll focus on the three main options and how to get CELA books and magazines on them. I'll talk a bit about how CELA can support your library's book clubs and reading programs, and where you can find help, training, and tutorials. We're providing additional support for patrons and libraries while you transition from using CDs to another option. So first of all, what is CELA? CELA, the Center for Equitable Library Access, is a comprehensive accessible library service providing over 1.4 million books, magazines, and newspapers to people with print disabilities living in Canada. CELA is a national not-for-profit organization that provides accessible reading services to the approximately 3 million people across Canada with print disabilities. Our services ensure that people with print disabilities across the country are more able to fully participate in learning, work, and community life, and contribute to the social, cultural, and economic development and success of their local and broader communities. Our mission is to support public libraries in the provision of accessible library collections and to champion the fundamental right of Canadians with print disabilities to access media and reading materials in the format of their choice. First of all, a little bit about CELA's audiobook collection. We have a wide selection of favorite authors, topics, in both English and French. We also have some audio magazines, mostly Canadian titles. We have titles available from Overdrive, Audible, and other commercial publishers. Our recorded books include professional recordings, including celebrity and author narrators. And we get our audiobooks from commercial audio producers as well as from other libraries for people with print disabilities internationally. Alternatives to CDs. We know that many of your patrons enjoy receiving their books on CDs that arrive at their home or that they get from your public library. While this format has worked well for many users, the fact is recent shifts in technology, the marketplace, and in our federal funding have required CELA to make the decision to cease production and distribution of audiobook CDs to all CELA users and CELA member libraries effective July 31st, 2025. We do understand how disappointing this news is to many of our users. We also know that this news will require libraries to make changes to how they offer CELA audiobooks to their patrons who preferred CDs. In our commitment to offering choice in terms of reading formats and devices, in 2023, we introduced a new player called the Envoy Connect as a new way to read our audiobooks. We have also launched a new way to play CELA audiobooks on a smart speaker, particularly on an Amazon Alexa, which I'll describe in more detail later on. We will continue to add to our audiobook collection as well as to our other formats, including e-text or electronic text, Braille, and print Braille. So how to start? First of all, your library's CELA account. All CELA libraries have a main account that they can use to order books for patrons, that they use to register patrons for CELA, and through which they can view their CELA usage statistics. So there is the main CELA account that all CELA member libraries have. Some libraries also have a deposit account through which they received bulk shipments of Daisy audiobooks on CD. That was an optional account and will be ending as of July 31st, since we will no longer be producing or distributing CDs to patrons or to libraries. Some libraries also have what's called a direct-to-player account, which is also an optional account that you may be looking to use in the future, since you can use your direct player account to transfer books from CELA's website onto various devices. So as I mentioned, our deposit collections will be stopping as of July 31st, 2025. Libraries may keep their existing deposit collection CDs. We will no longer require statistics, obviously, for your deposit collection as of the end of July. And we do offer CELA training guides and support for patrons or libraries to transition to other devices. So now I want to talk a little bit about the direct-to-player format. That really the key to knowing our digital delivery options is to understand how the direct-to-player delivery option works. This is the easiest way to load books onto an Envoy Connect device, the EasyReader app, or straight to a Stratus 4M or Stream player. You simply choose the Daisy Audio direct-to-player format in our catalog from the drop-down menu, and the book will be loaded on your bookshelf. Once you have logged into your main CELA account at celalibrary.ca, you can find the direct-to-player bookshelf option by selecting the My Account tab. Then any device you connect to will display the books. Please note, though, that the last red playing position may not be consistent across all devices with the same book. Since the different devices share the same bookshelf, you can have the same book on multiple devices. Be careful if you delete it off the bookshelf in your CELA account, as it might disappear off of the other devices, unless you have actually downloaded it to the specific device. If you have the title on the EasyReader app and have downloaded the item, rather than streaming it, the book will stay on your device. You will need to delete the book from your direct-to-player bookshelf on the app. We're now going to look at the most popular audiobook player options that will play CELA's books and magazines. The first device we're going to look at is the Envoy Connect. So the new Envoy Connect device is another way for your patrons to access CELA books. Envoy Connect is an easy-to-use portable, and affordable option for reading accessible audiobooks. It can be reloaded by downloading the books or magazines directly from the patron's CELA direct-to-player bookshelf with our software called CELA Connect. Many public libraries are loaning out Envoy Connect devices and loading books for people with print disabilities. This option seems to be becoming more popular with libraries that are looking for newer and less expensive ways to offer reading devices. The Envoy Connect can be purchased from CNIB Smart Life for $97. So, choosing books and magazines. Before loading your Envoy Connect players, you will need to choose books and/or magazines to add to your direct-to-player bookshelf in your main CELA account. Select the format, Daisy Audio direct-to-player or Daisy Text direct-to-player. Wait a few minutes and go to My Account, and then open your direct-to-player bookshelf to check that the books or magazines have been added. You can also receive an email letting you know when the book is on the bookshelf. To set this up, all you need to do is go to My Account and select Communication Preferences. The free CELA Connect software that you will use with the Envoy Connect device. So you first need to install the free CELA Connect software on the library computers you will use to load the players. You can share your CELA account login with staff, so this can be done on more than one computer. You can also load books or magazines onto more than one player. So we'll describe and show you how you load books onto your Envoy Connect in the video that will play on the next slide. Before I play this video that will give you a demo of the Envoy Connect player and the CELA Connect software, I just want to mention that our demonstrator is using screen reading technology to operate her computer. So you'll hear extra commands to use CELA Connect that aren't present if you're not using a screen reader.
So as you can see, here is the Envoy Connect player. It is quite small. It's about the size of a deck of cards. So it is very simple to put it in an envelope and send it by mail for free to CELA so that it can be reloaded and sent back to you. I will focus on the accessibility specific features of this player. First of all buttons are very clearly labeled and I can identify them by touch. Then I will first play you some content so you can see the quality of the speaker, which I think is quite good given its size. And let's hear.
Last updated March 2023. What's in the box? Included in the box are the Envoy Connect player.
So this is actually the user guide that is preloaded on every player. So a user can receive it and right away learn how to use it simply by turning the player on. A next feature that I want to show you is I'm able, without seeing the LED button, to check the battery status. So if I press and hold the rewind button, we hear 3 beeps, so I know that the battery is fully charged. The last feature I want to show you is the solar panel. So on the back, we have a solar panel that allows me to go off grid and go camping and still be able to charge my player and listen to my favorite books. Let's move on now to the other method of adding and removing books on the Envoy Connect, which is the free app called CELA Connect.
We are now on the opening screen of the CELA Connect software. I will press enter to connect to the library.
Enter. Status read only edit. CELA Connect Envoy Connect.
Enter again.
Enter. Status read only edit.
By the way, I'm using the JAWS screen reader that tells me everything that is on my PC screen. After this connection with CELA Library has been established, we will have a list of books that are currently loaded on the player that we can choose to remove. And then we will move on to the next step, which will be downloading a book from the CELA bookshelf.
CELA Connect, select titles to remove. This is the list of titles on your Envoy Connect.
Now I can tab over to the list of books.
List view, not selected Childia, K
I
Daisy.
have only one book, which I will press spacebar
Space,
and
check.
select and press enter.
Enter, status read only edit. Please.
We're at the next stage where we can choose a book to download. I will tab, like
List
previously,
view, not selected Leviathan Wakes. Book
and
one of a suitable boy.
choose,
Wool on
let's
the bus silo
say,
wolf. Indian in the cabinet.
Indian
Sticky
in the
truth.
cabinet. I will press
Space,
spacebar
check.
and enter. Now we get a confirmation dialog where we are asked to confirm whether we want to remove a book and download one book. Pressing enter again.
Enter, status read only edit. Please wait, checking your bookshelf.
After the book is downloaded, we will have a confirmation dialog telling us that it is safe to unplug the player. So now we have the confirmation message.
Message edit read only. Your content has been updated. You can now unplug the player.
I will press enter,
Enter.
and we are back where we started.
Loaning out Envoy Connect devices, we have received some helpful tips from libraries who have purchased several Envoy Connect players and circulate them to their patrons. When you order the player, it comes with a micro USB cable, headphones, and a wrist lanyard. Libraries have recommended purchasing a storage case so you can include all these items together. They also recommend purchasing additional micro USB cords, as these can get lost, as well as charging plugs so patrons can charge their players at home. The picture in the PowerPoint slide is a case that Kingston Frontenac Public Library in Ontario uses to lend out their Envoy Connect devices. The next device we're going to look at is the Dolphin EasyReader application. If you loan out tablets, you may wish to add the EasyReader app to the tablets. The app that works with our direct-to-player service and is available for Apple and Android devices, as well as on desktops or laptops, is the Dolphin EasyReader app. The app is free, and you can search our catalog on the app and add books and magazines to the bookshelf. If you select books by logging into the CELA website, we recommend selecting the direct-to-player format for audio or text, since this will simply load the book straight onto the EasyReader app. If you want to have more options, such as being able to sync books across all your devices with the app, you can pay for the premium edition, which costs $49.99 Canadian per year. You can also access our books and magazines as zip files for Daisy Audio, several e-text formats, and electronic braille files. Using the zip file will give you the option to read our books on many different apps, including the VoiceStream app, Google Read and Write, plus many more. So now we're going to watch another demo of using the EasyReader app on an iPhone. And I'll just mention that the narrator will be using VoiceOver.
I will now use VoiceOver, which is the screen reader for all iOS devices, and open the EasyReader
Braille
app.
screen input. EAS. Easy Reader. Opening Easy Reader. Portrait. Easy Reader. Loading. Ellipsis.
Here I will open the side menu to show you how we can access the CELA library directly from this app.
Side menu. CELA Library. Waiting for ellipsis. CELA Library.
Here we have two options. We can either search or browse for a book that we can add to our bookshelf, or I can go to the bookshelf where I have already added books either through this app or through the web interface.
Direct to player bookshelf. Show results in direct to player bookshelf.
This app can open either Daisy Audio or Daisy Text. And Daisy just means that this is the specialized format with enhanced navigation possibilities that I will show you in a minute. I will look for the book Denison Avenue that is already on my bookshelf.
Denison Avenue, Christina Wong, Daisy. Denison Avenue, open, button.
I have already downloaded this book, so it shows me that I can open it.
Gongong 1, Gongong and Popo.
So it remembered my previous position. I will now demonstrate the navigation possibilities.
Play. Pre-book navigation, button. Selected, headings, button. 1, level 1, 2%.
So it tells me that I'm on the first heading and it is at level 1. Incidentally, all headings are at level 1 on this book.
Preface, level 1,
I will
2%.
click on Preface.
Preface, vertical scroll, a novel, text settings.
As you can see here, we can change the text size, the foreground color, background color, margins, line spacing, and much more. Let's return.
Vertical scroll bar, 5 pages, 50.
I will now demonstrate reading with the help of the TTS, text-to-speech.
Play.
Preface. Our story primarily takes place in Toronto's Chinatown Kensington Market.
You can also change the speed and the quality of the voice in the audio settings of the app. So this gives you an overview of the EasyReader functionality for improved accessibility.
If your library is thinking about loaning tablets to patrons with the EasyReader app, some things to remember: libraries can add the app to multiple devices. The bookshelf is shared and the same books appear on every device with the app. You might also want to download the titles onto the device so they can't be deleted off the device. And of course, you can only loan tablets with CELA materials to patrons with print disabilities. Next, we're going to talk about Daisy players. Many of you may have a Humanware Victor Stratus or a Victor Stream player that you might loan out to patrons. The Victor Stratus has a CD slot that can be used to play music CDs, CELA Daisy CDs, or other audiobook CDs in your collection. Both of these players can be configured to connect to a local Wi-Fi connection, so books are loaded straight onto your player from your direct-to-player bookshelf. If you have a stable internet connection through Wi-Fi, then the direct-to-player service is a good option. You can also load a book or magazine zip file by connecting the player to a computer or by using an SD card. These players are sold through CNIB SmartLife or through the manufacturer, Humanware, for $655 for the Victor Stratus and $595 for the Victor Stream. So if you haven't done so, you will need to configure your Wi-Fi Daisy players so that you can transfer books from the CELA site directly onto the player. So the first thing to do is determine if your player is Wi-Fi enabled. So Humanware Victor Stratus 4M or 12M and Victor Streams are all Wi-Fi enabled devices. Humanware Victor Classics or Plex Talk players are not Wi-Fi enabled. Libraries in Ontario and Alberta may have received a Victor Classic player from CNIB about 10 to 14 years ago. While these players can play CDs, they are not internet enabled. If you need help configuring your player, you would get in touch with CELA's contact center. Their email address is help@celalibrary.ca. So now I want to talk about another option for patrons for reading CELA's audiobooks. As we're saying farewell to older technology, we're also very excited to tell you that we have been planning for the future. Your patrons can now access books on an Amazon Alexa smart speaker. We've been testing the ability to choose, operate, and hear CELA audiobooks on the new Accessible Reading Canada skill. This Accessible Reading Canada skill was recently launched. You can find more information about it, including upcoming webinars, on the Accessible Reading Canada help page of the CELA website. I'm now going to play an audio demo of our staff member, Iwana, opening the app, using the menu options, such as resuming a book, and going through the player options.
Start Accessible Reading Canada.
Would you like to resume your most recent book in progress, access your books, or browse the library?
Resume.
Coming Together as Things Fall Apart by Astra Taylor. Narrated by Rebecca Mitchell.
Next.
Meanwhile, in the U.S.,
Next.
Chapter 2. Barons or Commoners.
Previous.
Meanwhile, in the U.S.,
Volume up.
opined, for a long time now, people...
Stop. Start Accessible Reading Canada and Bookshelf.
You have 4 books on your bookshelf. First book, The Divine Comedy, by Dante Alighieri. Would you like to start reading or skip to the next book?
Help.
Your bookshelf is a list of books that you have chosen from our website or that have been selected for you based on your preferences. You can find them on the CELA website by selecting the direct player option for any audiobook. To navigate between the books on your bookshelf, say Previous or Next. To return to the main menu, say Main Menu.
Stop.
Got it. Goodbye.
Now a word about transferring books. This is a good option for patrons who don't have access to Wi-Fi or the internet at home. It's possible to transfer books onto a Victor Stratus 4 or 12M by putting books on a USB stick or on an SD card. Some libraries also burn CDs for patrons from the CELA website, which is fine, as long as the patrons that you're lending the CDs to have a print disability. With the Envoy Connect, you can use the free CELA Connect software on a library computer. You can also put books onto a micro SD card. In terms of book clubs, it's possible for libraries to add the same book to multiple Envoy Connect devices if you're loaning those out to patrons. You can also add books to Daisy players using an SD card or the direct to player options. You might want to suggest to book club members that they register for CELA so they have their own CELA account and are able to request their own copy of a book club title to be downloaded to whatever device they are using. If you have a book club member who needs a Braille copy of a book, we would recommend that the person order that book at least 4 weeks in advance to make sure that they will get the Braille copy if they're wanting a physical Braille copy in time so they can read it for the next book club meeting. And then in terms of a last word or tips about encouraging patrons to switch to a new device. If patrons wish to configure their own player, they only need to learn one new button, or they can get in touch with CELA's contact center, who can help them to configure their player so that they'll be able to get books directly from the CELA website. You might want to remind family and friends of the patron that CELA books can be downloaded onto a USB stick or an SD card and added to the patron's DAISY player. And you can also promote the fact that patrons can send back their Envoy Connect devices post-free to CELA to have us load books onto their Envoy Connect and then send it back to the patron post-free. We can also provide further support to you as a public library staff member through CELA member services. Please call us to make changes to your account information if you need help with ordering books or configuring your DAISY devices, as well as for any other help you need with the apps and devices that play CELA books. The last item to mention is our monthly newsletter, which is called Open Book for Libraries, that provides news regarding new titles that we've added to the collection, any service announcements, and a list of the upcoming webinars for library staff for that month. So we encourage you to subscribe if you haven't done so already. So to end the webinar, I just want to remind you that if you have a question about your library service with CELA, any of CELA Member Services staff can help you with your questions about changing your library profile, requesting a new service, etc. You can call us on our toll-free number 1-855-655-2273 and then press 2 to get to CELA Member Services, or you can email us at members@celalibrary.ca. Thanks for participating in the webinar today.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and never miss a video.